Good afternoon, Israel Briefers, and welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, where we take a look at those headlines making the news in Israel. We do it every Monday to Thursday, and this is your port of call for the news from Israel that, judging by the lack of coverage and the stenographing for Hamas by a lot of mainstream media outlets, and you know who you are: New York Times, Daily Mirror, Washington Post, LA Times, and more. You are going to get the news from our side of the narrative, warts and all, criticisms and all. And we do this every Monday to Thursday with these guys, lay of the land. Now, just a reminder that if you do have any questions that you would like answered, hey, listen, somebody even asked me for what shade of nail polish I was wearing last week. By the way, Essie ballet slippers. No question is too silly. I take them all and I will endeavor to answer them as best as I can. Also, a reminder that on Thursday, we announce the mensches, the great people, the wonderful people of the week, and the morons of the week. And I'm so happy that this week we have a lot more mensches than we have morons, which always makes me happy. It is day 669 since the 7th of October. In just 2 days' time, we will mark 22 months since the worst atrocity committed against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. The world has forgotten what happened on the 7th of October, where Hamas, an internationally recognized terrorist organization, and other terror organizations invaded parts of southern Israel and murdered over 1,200 people, including burning whole families. They committed acts of mass rape and mutilation and took over 250 people hostage, including babies, the elderly, and whole families. And to date, 50 hostages still remain captive in absolute hell in the Gaza Strip. We believe that 20 are still alive, but every second counts. Every second is crucial. And with the world focused on other areas, other issues around our war with Hamas, let's not forget, while we are still at war, and that is for the return of all our hostages. You can't see it clearly, but my shirt reads in Hebrew, Machzirim etchem habayta achshav, return them home now. So let's take a look at the top stories making headlines here, and we begin with a very, very controversial question. Is Israel about to occupy Gaza? Now, in case you didn't know it or need another history lesson, Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza in 2005, including digging up our dead. The Palestinian Authority, or Fatah, who was in charge at the time of disengagement, was overrun by Hamas, who overthrew them in extremely violent political ways. And in the subsequent elections since then, Hamas has won the vote of the Palestinians in Gaza. Israel does not occupy Gaza. I mean, I hear all sorts of accusations of blockades. There is a maritime blockade in place by both Israel and Egypt in accordance with international maritime law. And there is no blockade in Gaza because, as you know, aid continues to go into the Gaza Strip through the various terrestrial crossings, through the various airdrops, and by sea. So there is no blockade. So why are we discussing it? Because apparently this is going to be discussed in a security cabinet meeting that will happen later today. Now, according to an unnamed Israeli official alleged to be close to the Prime Minister's office, he said that the Prime Minister is going to seek to go for full occupation of Gaza. Israel already has military control at the moment of about 75% of the strip, but this could mean pushing into the areas where the IDF has not been acting. Now, why is this a possibility? Because Hamas refuse to come to the table and discuss a ceasefire. I mean, why should they? The United Kingdom, France, and Canada have basically said, don't worry, no matter what you do, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state. It's not conditional on the release of the hostages and you surrendering. So thank you, United Kingdom, Canada, and France, for totally scuppering any ceasefire talks that have been on the table. So this is the last push by Israel and the IDF to release the hostages. Now, this move is believed to be extremely opposed by several members of the government, including the head of the Mossad, the National Security Advisor, and the head of the IDF. However, officials who are pro this move have said the IDF chief can resign. I mean, it's just astounding. It is also opposed by the vast majority of Israeli citizens. And this shows you how robust Israel is as a democracy. Defense Minister Katz says he will carry out, whatever orders are given by the Security Cabinet in a professional manner. And it is believed that this has been greenlit by the Trump administration. So this is where we are standing at the moment. It still has to be discussed. It still has to be voted on. Moving on, yesterday I told you that Prime Minister Netanyahu had spoken to the representative of the International Committee of the Red Cross here in Israel. Well, last night, President Herzog spoke to the president of the ICRC, who is based in Geneva, impressing on her the imperative of getting immediate help to the hostages. As we saw over the weekend, those profoundly devastating and traumatic images and footage of hostages Ron Braslavsky and Eviatar Cohen, who quite literally are on the brink of death. I don't think any of us can get that image of Eviatar David. I keep calling him Cohen. It's Eviatar David being made to dig his own grave. Now, it is a complete moral stain on any world leader, any media outlet, and any religious leader who has not condemned this and called for the immediate release of the hostages. You want a ceasefire, so do we. We want the suffering of civilians in Gaza, especially the children, to end now. I do not want to see children suffering in Gaza. Release the hostages and this war ends now. It is a moral stain on anybody who forgets to call for the release of the hostages. Now, the president called for immediate medical and medical assistance and food to be given to the hostages, saying that the taking of hostages and the starving of hostages is a flagrant violation of international humanitarian law. Now, the ICRC has also released a statement saying they are appalled at the footage of the hostages. However, they neglected to mention who is responsible for this, and that is Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Now let's take a look at what is happening with aid, and the United Nations Office for Project Services has released data that claims that between May 19th and August the 5th, which is when Israel reopened for the entrance of humanitarian aid, at least 88% of their aid had been intercepted either by hungry Palestinians or by armed actors, they call it, in Gaza. This is what we've been telling them for ages. They denied it and denied it and denied it, and now at least they are admitting it. They went so far as to say in some months that percentage has been higher. In fact, in July it was at 94% interception, which proves what Israel has been saying all along, that Hamas has been hijacking that aid, looting that aid either to sell on the black market or to tax very, very heavily and use that money to refund their military campaign against Israel and against the civilian population in Gaza. Because Hamas, who felt no compunction to come into Israel and rape and murder and burn and take hostages, and who have boasted about the use of their civilian population as human shields, have said we are prepared to sacrifice hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. Do you honestly think they wouldn't sacrifice their own civilians, starve their own civilians on the altar of their jihad? And finally, we end on a note that I think will break all of our hearts, and that is today would have been the 6th birthday of little Ariel Bibbas. His family have asked everybody to release orange balloons or do something good and happy that makes you smile in his memory. Gorgeous flame-haired little Ariel Bibbas, his image of him in his mother's arms, along with his baby brother Kfir, as they were taken by gunpoint into captivity in Gaza. Their father, Yarden Bibbas, was also taken captive, he by Hamas, and Shiri, Ariel and Kfir by the Mujahideen al-Qassam. They were brutally murdered in captivity. Yarden did not know in all the time that he was held captive whether his wife and his 2 beautiful flame-haired boys were still alive. Even though Hamas taunted him by saying that they had been killed, they alleged by an Israeli airstrike, but at autopsies proved that they were strangled to death. Yarden never gave up hope. The Bibbas family never gave up hope. And the image of Shiri and her 2 beautiful boys has forever become the symbol of the hostages taken captive during this war. Their innocence, the sheer terror on Shiri Bibbas' face. Little Arieli from a broken-hearted nation, wherever you are sitting in heaven with your mommy, with your grandparents, with your baby brother and your doggy Tonto, we wish you a happy heavenly birthday. To Yarden and to the Bibbas family, words are not adequate to describe what we feel today. And on behalf of all of the viewers of the Israel Brief from all around the world, we send you our deepest, deepest love, and may Arieli, may his memory be eternally blessed. So let's take a look at the audience question, and it comes from Shane in Cape Town, who says, why has the media run with the Hamas line? Well, this is a question we all want to know, and as a journalist, to me, it shows an abject failure of our role as journalists, which is to not be partisan, but to report the facts. And why has the media gone with this line? Is it because there is financial backing by those that financially back and support Hamas? And here many of us lean towards Qatar. Is it because of the vast amounts of advertising by countries like Qatar and other entities? Or is there something more nefarious, like systematic, institutionalized anti-Semitism? We know in the case of the BBC, which is publicly funded, that it is a case of anti-Semitism, that they have repeatedly been briefed, journalists have repeatedly been briefed how to message this war, including pushing the narrative of deliberate starvation. the omitting over the last few days of any coverage of Eviatar David and Ron Braslevsky and our hostages, and the deliberate omitting of details like the looting and hijacking of aid by Hamas and other armed actors in Gaza, and the narrative pylon by against the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The role of the media is to report the facts and not to act as stenographers for Hamas. However, none of us are powerless. Every single one of us has a role to play, and we can continue, and we must demand that the media be transparent, be balanced, and give both sides of the narrative. They have a duty of care to you, the media consumer, to do exactly that. So guys, that's it from me for today. Please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. Our LinkedIn is at Rolene Marks, Instagram at Rolene_Marks, Facebook at Lottel's site, and X at Lay of the Land 5. So guys, God bless you all. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.